Hey, thanks for checking us out. Are you looking for a nice weekend family meal? This is it right here. This is where the corner of awesome and easy meet. You don't need no GPS for this one. Watch what we're about to do. Thank you for checking out the Anodized Chef. We appreciate it a lot. Today we're going to make a spinach and sausage lasagna, but not like one that you're used to seeing. And the great thing about it too is if you've been intimidated by making lasagna, or maybe you just weren't quite sure how to make it, I'm going to show you how easy it is. We're going to have a couple little twists that we're going to add to ourselves that really rock this thing out, so it's going to be awesome. But we're going to get right into it. Like I said, we're going to do spinach and sausage. So what we're going to do first is we're going to brown up our sausage meat and get ready to roll. So I'm going to take the sausage. I got some sweet Italian sausage, and I have about a pound of sweet Italian sausage still in its casing. But what I like to do is I like to take it out of the casing and brown it up kind of like hamburger style. And what we're going to do is we just want to get the meat nice and brown, and we're just going to reserve it off to the side. Really what I like to do is when I brown it, I like to break it up with a spoon too. And the reason why you don't have to take it out of the casing if you don't want. The reason why I like to is because you can really break it up and it gets distributed a little more evenly inside the lasagna. But you could easily just leave the sausage in the case, cook it, and then slice it. And that's perfectly fine too. So, okay, so now I'm going to take a spoon and just kind of break it up. You don't have to worry about cooking it all the way at this stage of the game, primarily because it's going to go in the oven as a lasagna and it's going to bake again. So even if it's still a little pink, fret not. Plus I made some new rules about pork. You don't have to cook it as much as they thought you used to have to, so they cut us a little bit of slack. I don't know that I'd order a rare pork cutlet though, but you get what I mean. Alright, so we're going to brown this up. Yeah, stuff done. You can add a little oil if you want to. Pork sausage is fatty by nature, so there's a good chance you don't have to. But if you feel like it's really sticking to the pan, you could probably use something non-stick. Get away with not even using any. Little alternative right here if you wanted to. You could use the hot Italian sausage if that's a preference of yours. Or you could kick this up right here with a little crushed red pepper. Completely your choice. And that's about as much as you need to do right there. We'll shut it down. See, it still is a little pink, but that's okay. Because like I said, once we go into the lasagna, it is going to cook a little bit more. Scrape all the morsels out of there, every last little bit of goodness. And we're just going to set this aside. Alright, so the second phase of our layers in the lasagna is going to be the spinach layer. Now, there's a couple different kinds of spinach that you can use. We've used baby spinach today. It's the most convenient. You can get it in the produce section and you don't have to clean it. But you can get the bags of spinach, the full-grown spinach. That's more nutritious, but it's a little bit more work. You're going to have to pick through the stems and take a knife to it and chop it up a little bit before you saute it. Baby spinach is easy because you really don't have to do anything to it. But you can use the frozen spinach as well. The only thing about the frozen spinach is you got to make sure you squeeze all the water out of it because those are the ones in the little boxes that you get in the frozen section of the vegetables. You got to make sure you defrost it and make sure all the water is squeezed out because it will throw off the balance of the consistency of your lasagna. It'd be a mess actually if you haven't eaten. So make sure you do that. But that's perfectly fine. You can do that. Just make sure you do that extra step that I told you about. So what we're going to do is we're going to saute up that spinach with some flavorings and get this thing rolling for that second layer in the lasagna. So I'm just going to drizzle about a teaspoon of olive oil. Yeah, actually it's probably about 2 teaspoons of olive oil into the pan, and we're going to get the pan good and hot. And what we've done is I've actually caramelized up a small onion. You can do that if you want, or you can slice up a fresh onion and saute it ahead. We're just going to throw this in here for flavor. It's just a regular white onion, and we just browned it up ahead of time. I've got some garlic. We're going to actually season that oil with about a teaspoon of garlic. onions back to life again. And then what we're going to do is I've got probably about a small container of spinach. I would say it's close to a pound. Maybe it's actually like a 12-ounce container of baby spinach that we're throwing in there. And the reason why we're putting so much in there is because it really, you're about to see why, it really wilts down quite a bit. There's nothing to it. Once you get them sauteed, you're going to have about half the amount that you started with once it's cooked. And again, this is one of those things as well that you don't have to cook all the way because it's going to cook some more inside the lasagna. Let's get our cauldron here. We'll give this a little kiss with the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it from here. And we'll get right into the ricotta mix. The next section is going to be the ricotta mix. And right here I've got about 3 pounds of ricotta, and that's going to be enough to do our, what I call a half pan of lasagna, and it'll actually feed 6 to 9 people. So if you've got a pretty good sized family, this will work out great. If not, then you can cut them into portions. You can freeze them, or you can have it the next day as leftovers. But I've got about 3 pounds here. You don't have to get one big container, you can mix and match. But just so you know, it's going to take about 3 pounds of ricotta to do the 2 layers that we're going to do. So we'll put that in a bowl, and one of the big tricks is 1 egg per pound. And if you can remember that when you're making your ricotta filling, then you'll be all set. And I'm kind of a hack, but another tip that I'm not doing, but it's a good tip for you to do, is to crack your egg in a separate bowl, so that way there, if any shells happen to fall in, you don't have to go digging them out, because that's me and I do that all the time. And I do have to do it. I think I said that in a prior episode too, but I did it the right way because I wasn't so much on the hat right there. Okay, so I put the 3 eggs in there with the ricotta, and then we're going to just go ahead and add some of our love. I've got some fresh chopped parsley, probably about a tablespoon. I've got a fresh minced basil. It's more of a chiffonade, but that's okay. We'll throw that in there, and you can go very heavy with that because that's a big one. Probably about maybe a 1/4 cup, a little less than a 1/4 cup actually, but more than a tablespoon. I've got my favorite kind of cheese. Be generous with that. You can go 1/2 cup. I've got a little bit of Parmesan cheese, same thing, about a 1/4 cup. We'll throw some garlic in there too, a teaspoon of garlic, and then we'll finish this baby off with a teaspoon of the edge. And just mix this up. And just make sure that the biggest thing is just make sure you get all the egg mixed throughout the whole thing. And see what I mean? I have a wire whip right here on standby. If you're more comfortable mixing with a wire whip, by all means do it, but I've just grown accustomed to smashing stuff with spoons, so it's all good. Big misconception with lasagna filling is breadcrumbs. I can't tell you how many cooks, professionals at cooking, who try to put breadcrumbs because I can't break it. Come on, man. The eggs are going to bind it, and the cheese is going to bind it just right, so you don't have to go mess with it. Like I was talking about water content, if you watch what you're putting into it, you're not going to have to worry about binding the cheese. So, and that's it. That's perfect right there. So now we're going to get into our layers, and we're going to start with our pan, the tomato sauce. You can use your favorite brand. You can use the marinara sauce from a prior episode. I believe it was the Epic Meatballs, if I'm not mistaken, the Epic Meatball episode. But this is that half pan that I was telling you about. It's a 9x13 cake pan. You can spray it if you want. You really don't have to. What we're going to do is we've got enough fat in the stuff that we're putting in there that it should be able to come off the pan easy enough. Well, I had 2, but that's okay. One of the surprises that I have for you today is the pasta. Now, we have a spinach pasta. Now this is ready to layer spinach pasta. You can find it in the frozen section of some of your upper scale grocery stores. You're not going to find it everywhere, but some of the ones that have a lot of the specialty foods and stuff, you can find this. It's called pasta sheets. Again, it's in the frozen section. You probably find it like where the ravioli are in Manicotti. But this is, the great thing about these is you don't have to boil them. You can boil your regular lasagna noodles, and for this here, you're probably going to need 2 boxes, or 1.5 boxes of lasagna noodles to cover the layers in this that you're going to need. But with the pasta sheets, the great thing about it is they have them pre-packaged, so they're perfect for this size container. It's absolutely, it's like it's made for this. So, and then when we do them in the commercial industry, we have the full pans and we just do 2 back to back and it works out great. But this is a spinach flavor. They have other flavors. They have tomato flavor. You can get wild mushroom flavor, whatever you like. And I've got a little surprise for you at the end of the episode. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the red sauce and we're going to just put a couple of spoonfuls on the bottom of the pan. And really, that is primarily just to help that noodle from sticking to the bottom. So we're going to get under that with a spatula and get it up. And that's, see, I'd rather add it with flavor instead of just like a pan spray to keep it from sticking. So we've got our spinach pasta. Throw that right in there. And I'm going to hit it with just a little bit more sauce. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to build it in layers. So it's all going to be staged. So it'll be perfect. Then we're going to add about half of our ricotta mix because the other half is going into the second layer. And then what you do is you just spread it, and I piled it up in the middle. And then what we do now is we just kind of push it aside with a spoon so it gets all the way to the edges. And I think I could steal a little bit more from this half. There we go. Let's just press right to the corners. Now, one of the great things too is you don't have to get it perfect because when you put that second layer on, the weight of the stuff you're piling on top is going to help to evenly distribute it out. So it works out pretty good. Again, it's as easy as we can make it. You know, we don't want to make it anything too difficult. Now, I'm going to throw half of my spinach on there and see how much that spinach cooked right down. But see, look at that moisture in there. Just be careful of that going in there. Give that spinach a little bit of a squeeze with the tongs on that reserved dish, so that way there you don't. A little bit more, just so you don't add that water to the lasagna, because again, I'm talking about that moisture content, trying to keep it in balance. So we'll take our sausage. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way so we can get a good shot here. We're going to take our sausage and we'll put half of our sausage in there. Absolutely. Okay, now, cheese we didn't talk about. I have sliced mozzarella, and that's just a preference. The reason why I like sliced mozz is primarily because when you layer it on a lasagna, it spreads out a little bit more evenly. You can use the convenience shredded stuff, that's absolutely fine. It's the same stuff, it's just cut a different way. So what I do is I like to layer it and kind of shingle it in the pan. So as you're putting it in there, and the biggest reason why I like sliced mozz in lasagna, like I said, is for evenness. It makes sure every piece of lasagna has almost the same amount of cheese on it. And obviously, we're going to give it a kiss of this for our second layer. And that's my Asiago, by the way. So we'll add another layer. And now that you put this on there, now you can kind of put a little force on it until the sauce starts to squeeze up the sides, and that's when you know that you're good to go. I'm going to do the same thing as we did on the first layer. Be careful on how much sauce you put. You don't want to put too much. You should still be able to see the lasagna noodle through the sauce, because that will make it more watery. You want to be careful. To the hill, your pieces put me through the active of the truth. Who would somehow take your breath away? You never have, you never will wish to. Who found the depth of the demon in me? Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add our layer with noodles. Hit it with some sauce on the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pop this in the oven. Now the whole thing, the prep and everything else, took me about 15-20 minutes to get it all prepped. But then it's going to take another 30 minutes to 40 minutes in the oven. So give yourself a good hour to get this thing put together for dinner. So that's why I say it's a good weekend dinner. All right, so I'm going to pop this in the oven, we'll let this go, and then we'll talk about the surprise I got for you. So that lasagna went in at 350. Like I said, we'll check it in about a half an hour. Now, the little treat that I have for you is you can take that same pasta sheet that we talked about. And what I did was with the lasagna filling is I kept a little bit aside for a reason. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to make, what's he doing? He's crazy. Oh my goodness. He's making ravioli, baby. Hell yeah. All right, so check this out. What we're going to do is I'm just dolloping some of our mixed lasagna filling. And what's in there is the ricotta, some sausage, a little spinach, some cheese. So now we're going to throw a little bit more Parmesan cheese. Now these you want to be just a little bit more firm than your lasagna. So we're going to add some filling there. Then what we'll do is fold it over, and this is where it gets cool. And it's okay if a little cheese squishes out the sides, it's kind of happy. But what else are you going to get? Homemade ravioli. What? Now, one of the tricks too to keeping the pasta to stick is you can use a little bit of the cheese or you can use a little bit of water to keep the pasta noodles to stay shut. And it's important to get all around that cheese filling that's inside to stay secure, because what will happen is when you go to boil them, they'll explode. So let me grab a knife, and now we'll just separate them. And that's one big ravioli dish. You know what? You can make them smaller if you want. And actually, one of the places I worked in an Italian restaurant years and years ago, and one of the cooks actually built a ravioli machine with a little wooden block and had a cutter on it. So you lay the sheet in there, put your filling in, it had little pouches inside, like a hole in the rack that the pasta fell through. You put the dollop of filling in there. We used to make lobster ravioli, duck ravioli, it was crazy. So then what we do is we put another sheet over the top, and then you roll it with a rolling pin, and that really pressed the pasta together. And the great thing too is he had it on a hinge, so you just took that piece of wood and flipped it over, and the ravioli sheet just popped right off, and then you just cut it and throw it in the fridge. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and crank that with a fork, and then set them aside. Now you can freeze these, you can boil them right away if you want, or the reason why I showed you how to do this is just in case by some chance you have extra filling, you have a lot of those pasta sheets, and you're going to get sick of lasagna after a while, you want to do something a little bit different, and now you just take these and you pop them right into boiling water for about 5 minutes, and you're good to go. Put them with some of that nice red sauce, that spinach sauce and raviolis. This is how to do it homemade style. You could certainly build yourself one of those little machines I was just talking about. Handy if you think it's really a cool idea. Or if you're really going to do a lot, it may be worth your while, because I'll tell you on a commercial level, you don't want to be doing this. For 150 people. Alright, and that's that. Now we just set those aside. Actually, I put them on the plate here. That can be part of our final shot here. Alright, so we'll let that lasagna cook. And then when it's all ready, we'll come back and we'll talk about the wine and we'll plate up. Okay, so our lasagna is just about there. I'm going to go ahead and take it out and we're going to finish it off. Yeah, baby. Look at that. Nice, brown, cooked, and delicious. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to finish it off. Now you can do another layer of cheese on it if you want. I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of Asiago. We're not going to necessarily melt it down. But you can do another layer of that mozzarella if you want and throw it back in the oven and melt it, and it just looks nice. You can also throw some of the chopped parsley on there for sexiness. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and portion it out. Now what I said in the beginning is we can do this in 9, we can do this in 6, it really depends on how hungry you are. You could even do it in 12 if you felt so inclined. But see, if you go like this, 3 by 3, I think is the perfect amount. What I've done now see the water coming out? See that? That's going to happen. That's why we were very, very careful going in with our water content. Things that have high water volume, we were careful. So hopefully we'll be able to still keep a little bit of consistency here. Now we're doing this right out of the oven. It's also a little bit better if you let the lasagna sit for a few and cool down and let the cheese kind of settle. So this might be a little bit loose when we come out. It doesn't feel too bad. But it might be a little bit soupy coming out because we're doing it right out of the oven. Really, if you, like I said, if you let it set, sometimes even if you refrigerate it and then pop it back in the oven right before you serve it again, that's the best way to do it. But what we did was I heated up some of the sauce that we used as a foundation for the lasagna. And we're just going to put a little bit of sauce on the bottom of the plate. And I also cooked up a little bit of garlic bread to serve with it. Now you could serve it with our epic meatballs. You could serve it with a whole bunch of different sides, whatever choices you want, which you could find the recipes for that in our prior episodes. But let's just get right in there with a spatula. Oh yeah, baby. And just set this bad boy right down. Oh, look at that. And there we have it. Let me get this out of the way. Oh man. That is good eating right there. That's a spinach and sausage lasagna made with spinach pasta, loaded with cheese and deliciousness, a homemade red sauce. You can find that recipe, by the way, on a prior episode. The red sauce, so or you can, like I said, the store-bought one is fine, your favorite brand, but I would definitely recommend a good quality one though. That being said, we paired this with a really great red wine. The Cantina Zaccagnini, I hope I pronounced that right. It's a classic Italian wine, and it comes from the Abruzzo region, and I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at it. I'm going to call it the Montepulciano grape. And it is very dry, but I found it to have a nice flavor in the middle. So kind of like a crisp berry flavor in the middle, but it is very, very dry. But it's also very, very Italian, which is perfect for this dish right here. So I'm gonna let Bob give you a really good review on it, but I'm gonna tell you it's perfect with this lasagna. That being said, just wanna say thanks again for joining us in our madness, our magic, and our mayhem. We will see you next time. Yes, it's a flame. Yes, a light.